Hello there. Y'all alright? I want to share something with you, if I may, for just a past seconds. Listen here. You got to stop trying to fix things that you didn't break. It's not your responsibility. Some things are broken. Some people are broken. You didn't break them. You didn't break the thing or the person. Yet, you almost about to break yourself trying to fix it. Don't do that, okay? Everything is not our responsibility, even when it feels like it. It's not, all right? Choose yourself. Choose yourself. Get your peace. Don't break yourself down trying to fix something that you never even broke.
My name is Shintina and I'm 40 years old. I was born on the Eastern Shore of Virginia in 1981, which makes me 40 years old. And that's where I lived most of my adolescent life. I lived with my grandmother until I was 17 years old. I was actually raised by her as my mom had some great difficulties in the early years of my life. So pretty much from 2 until 17, I lived with my grandmother, having limited contact with my mother, having more contact with my mother's family than hers, such as my grandmother and my aunts and my cousins. Um, Once I was 17, I moved out of my grandmother's house, and she was very loving. I grew up, what I would consider a great life. And, while I could be envious of others because they had two-parent households, or, the fact that they were in the home with their mom, I just felt like that situation was the best situation for me because my grandmother was very loving, very nurturing. She cooked well. She just taught me a lot about life, so I didn't feel a void with not having my mom around. My dad was around. He was in and out of like jail or in and out of town or in and out of relationships, pretty much doing, what he wanted to do. But I was his only kid, so it was kind of like we had a great sense of connection. And even when he did come back, it was good. It was good. I was daddy's little girl. And from 17, I moved out, moved in with my first boyfriend, which is one of my daughter's fathers. And, we built a life together and it was good. And I guess at that point in time is when I just started seeing life started moving really fast for me. Where probably it's a thing I shouldn't have club and children and hang out, especially with having a strong foundation of having a two-parent household or a mother in the home. Being raised by my grandmother, it was some things that I was able to get away with that at a in a traditional household I probably wouldn't have been able to get away with. But we lived together. We had a what you would consider a good life together.
If heaven was a mile away,
would I pack up my bags and leave this world behind?
if heaven was a mile away,
Or save it all for you?
if heaven was a mile away,
Would I fill the tank up with gas and be out the front door in a flash?
When I was 21, I got pregnant with my first child, which was my son. He is now 19 years old. I had him when I was 22. And I guess at that point in time was when I really realized the void of not having my biological mom in my life. By that time, we had, tried to establish a bond. It was really strained. It was more so like kind of forcing. a square into a circle, I guess is the best way to describe it. But of course, I thought that, time and, her seeing her firstborn growing up and having my own son would, make her want to be, a model grandmother and stuff like that. And, after me, she had two other children that she raised and did well by. And, I didn't hold it against her because, times were different. She was young, and she, reiterated that she wasn't in a good headspace when, she initially found out that she was pregnant with me, and that her and my father weren't together. So that just caused some emotional things within her. So I kind of understood it, but I knew that, when I had my own son, I didn't I guess I went into overdrive with trying to prepare and be a great mom for my son, that I thought I could overcompensate for my own lack of not having, my biological mom in the home. And I went on to have my son, and I feel like we had a great life. I got everything that I did was for my son, was for the betterment of us. The neighborhoods that I lived in, the jobs that I worked, the schedule, whoever I would have my son around. And we lived on the Eastern Shore until my son was 3. And we then moved to Hampton Roads. Because at that point in time, I had started a relationship with someone, and it was considered what we considered long distance, because he lived in Hampton and I lived on the Eastern Shore. So I packed up and I moved over here, just me and my son, in a U-Haul truck with no job, and just thinking I was about to have this great life. And I came over here and I got a job like almost immediately, and I was like, okay, I see how this is gonna work. Everything's gonna be great. I'm raising my son. I'm in a relationship, and we broke up. So now I have a job, no place to stay, and my son. So my son had a doctor's appointment on the Eastern Shore, so I went home knowing that my aunt had like a great attachment to my son. I once she saw him, she was like, oh, he can stay, let him stay, and you go over there and get yourself straight, and he'll be here when you get ready. So I came back over here. I rented a room downtown Newport News. I worked 2 jobs. I did everything that I could possibly do to, right my wrong, as to say, because at that point in time I was having so much guilt from even leaving from what I considered my safety, my safe space, to come over here to start a new life. So I enrolled in Thomas Nelson Community College. I worked. Then eventually, I got my first place. It was a 1-bedroom, like efficiency style apartment. But it was really nice. I liked it. It was dope. I decorated it the way I wanted to, and I got my son and I brought him back over here. In between time, I had help from friends, like my work friends. They would watch my son if if their shift came after mine, or my shift came after theirs. When I was coming in, they would just take my son, and it was like so good. He had so many babysitters, so many aunties, and it was the support that I needed. So we went from our 1-bedroom apartment to, getting approved for Section 8. Oh, we living a good life now. And then I had my second child.
Some people go around the world for love, but they may never find what they dream of. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. And in my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do.
Okay, so I had my second child, which was a girl. And her father was the gentleman that I spoke about earlier, that was on the Eastern Shore, that we had this great life together. We remained friends because, we started out as friends, and we just never had any, disagreements or anything. as I guess it was during the good time phase where we're just young and just having fun and everything's great. So I had my daughter. I lived over here. He continued to live on the Eastern Shore. We rotated weekends. One weekend he would come over here. One weekend I would go over there. And then I had my daughter, and things changed. He was not the same person that I met. He was not the same person that had been so caring and considerate in the beginning. Time had changed, and life had happened, and the distance didn't help with things. So once again, I felt reserved because now I'm a single mom for the second time. So your emotions come again, hey, I feel like such a failure. What am I doing? I'm making these impulse decisions, and ultimately they're affecting me and affecting my children. So I need to slow down. I need to regather my thoughts. I need to catch my grip, what I'm saying, get my bearings. So it was a trying time, and it had its pros and cons. I continue to grow as an individual, continue to develop, and still not try to focus on not having a mom, which was one of the biggest things for me. Because a little bit of backstory, prior to having my son, when other people would talk about having children, I would always say I didn't want any children. And the reason being is because I didn't have a mom. So it's like I didn't have a example of motherhood. So I was like, how can I want to be a mom? She won't, and didn't want that. She raised me, just my children. Some physically and some not. So, but she wasn't my mother, so it still led to a void. So now, I'm older. I got 2 kids. I'm still working. Still, taking classes here and there as time permits, and just trying to find my way. I then at my job met my my third daughter's father, and wasn't a child involved initially, but that relationship was child involved initially, but that relationship was toxic.
Deliver me, 'cause all I seem to do is hurt me, hurt me. Lord, deliver me, 'cause all I seem to do is hurt me.
Yes, sir.
So I was working my job, and my third daughter's father came in, and he presented himself as a good guy. He left out a lot of details. He did not tell me that he was just coming home from prison. He didn't tell me about all the trauma and abuse that he had dealt with as an adolescent growing up, and a lot of turmoil that he had within his family dynamics. So I met him. We started a relationship. I got pregnant fairly quickly, and so now I'm having my third child. Our relationship was really, really toxic. Like, there were so many accusations of cheating, and there was also, physical abuse, mental abuse, and I experienced domestic violence, I guess. Not for the first time, for the second time, because I had already experienced it with my son's father while being on the Eastern Shore, which was one of the driving forces for me relocating to Hampton Roads with my son. So now this is the second time I'm being reintroduced to it. I have 3 children. I'm working hard. And it's wearing me down mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'm having to go to work with like my collar popped, and just only allowing customers to see one side of me because the other side has bruises. He's taking my car, he's staying out. Now we having other women involved, more children. My son is witnessing domestic violence. So it was just like a trying time. And during that time we were together, it was probably about 6 years of on again, off again, toxic domestic violence. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And a lot of people didn't even know that I endured that. When I later told them, after I was no longer in that situation, what I had gone through, it was really hard for them to believe that, because they always saw me as being a strong-willed, hard-working, driven, happy, upbeat individual. But I can truly say that out of my whole entire lifespan, that was like the darkest, saddest time for me. And I will say this, it is so funny how God works. And I say God now, but at that point in time I remember silently praying and saying, Lord, if you don't remove me from this situation, either he's going to kill me or I'm going to kill him. And the only thing that kept playing over in the back of my mind was my children growing up without me, not having me, having to be separated, to go with their respective parents or grandparents or their respective families. And I don't want my kids to be separated, but I can't allow him to continue to do this to me, because I feel like I'm a pretty girl, I got so much to offer, I'm smart. Why does he continue to put his hands on me? So I remember us getting into like an all-out brawl, and I think this was the only time I ever fought back. And it's weird for me because people know me as a fighter. And I never once fought him. Like, I never once, all I would do was, put up hands to try to just, stop him from hitting me in certain places, but I would never fight him. And I remember this particular day, him hitting me and me just, pleading stop. And then I remember with all of my might smacking him and smacking, punching, but nonetheless to his face. And, his head turning and him saying, "What is wrong with you?" Because granted, I had never hit him back before. But at that point in time, I had really gotten fed up with the fighting, with him putting his hands on me, with me not properly defending myself. And I had just came to a grip that I was going to fight back. So when I said, that silent prayer, and I said, Lord, either he gonna kill me or I'm gonna kill him, but this has to end, that was really a fork in the road for me.
I know it should be finishing, but sing it for me 2 more times.
Lord, deliver me, 'cause all I seem to do is hurt me.
So after that point in time, we kind of just separated, and he ended up going to prison. He did some other stuff against someone else, and he went to court, and he was sentenced to a really, really long, lengthy sentence, somewhere between 30 and 50 years. I'm not even sure, because when you want to be rid of a situation so bad, I looked at that as my out, and maybe it was selfish, maybe it was, ill-hearted, but I really was glad, because I felt like now me and my children, we can live the life that we deserve. We don't have to deal with the fighting, the fussing. I can, I don't have to deal with the cheating allegations. I can just go on and be back to my happy, bubbly self. Now, it doesn't quite happen like that. It's not just like a light switch that, he gets locked up and now I go back to, having this regular, wonderful life. it didn't just happen like that. So, of course, I had to deal with the backlash because my son had witnessed domestic violence. So, of course, I had to reassure him that no one's ever going to come in our house and do that to us again. And I love you, I love your sisters, and we're going to have the peace that we deserve. At this juncture, we're living downtown Newport News, which isn't, the best place to live, but of course we got each other and we're making it work for us. I'm continuing to, further my education and work, and, the girls are in dance and my son is playing basketball, and life is once again good. So my daughter's father, while I do feel for her not having a relationship with him, for him going away when she was 3 years old, I just feel like she's better off because of the type of individual that he had proved himself to be in front of my one daughter that was not his, and in front of my son that was not his. So you know, I looked at it as, a blessing in disguise, a fresh start, a point in time where I could get back to, being me. So, you know, from that point in time, things did turn around. I was able to buy a house. I was able to, start working on my career, start working in, the field of insurance, just doing good, just, feeling good about myself. But still dealing with the void of not having the emotional support of family because I've relocated, moving to the Hampton Roads area. Then I was isolated due to being in a domestic violence relationship. So then when I come back and I say, hey fam, how are you guys, I missed y'all, they're kind of looking at me like the outcast, and of course not wanting to give them the whole entire backstory of where I've been and what I've had to endure. I felt like I overcompensated, and I begged for them to love me and welcome me back with open arms. So I continue to have a good relationship with my dad, a few aunts, my grandmother, and that's where emotionally I felt weak, and I didn't really know about therapy. I really didn't know about getting help. I didn't really understand what I needed to do or who to even talk to, because I'm like, hey y'all, I loved y'all, I never stopped loving y'all, and they were like, we love you too. But still not being there for me, still not being there for my children. So my dad ended up getting ill, and he called me and he was like, can you come over here, I want to talk to you about something. And so I went home and we had a conversation. He told me he hadn't been feeling well. He was due to go to the doctor in a few days, but he didn't know what the outcome was going to be. So with me being his only kid, and of course wanting to be there for my dad, because I know how it now feels to not have anybody there for you. I took on the role of caring for my dad and being there for him, and his health deteriorated quickly. He relocated to Hampton Roads with me, and my children got to experience my dad in a way that I did not get to experience my dad. His health would take highs and lows. He would go from short hospital stays, long hospital visits, surgery. He ended up having a non-cancerous inoperable brain tumor that was at the base of his brain. At times, it would mimic him, all like having Alzheimer's or dementia. And so he was on heavy medicines to shrink it so that he could have a quality of life. So, my dad was doing great. He got back to his old self, and he was lived in a facility over here, and they were taking great care of him, and he loved it. Like, he was helping take care of other people there, wheeling them around in their wheelchairs and playing bingo and going to the buffet outings and stuff. They would take him out on the van. And my dad asked to go home. He wanted to go back to the Eastern Shore. Now, I'm from the Eastern Shore. I don't look down on it. I just know my dad's living situation was not the best situation, so I didn't want him to return back to it, with limited heating, not adequate plumbing and stuff like that, or him having to lift kerosene to bring in the house to heat the house or whatever. I didn't want him to have to deal with that, but he wanted to go home, so he insisted on going back to the Eastern Shore, and I finally just said okay. So he's on the Eastern Shore about 10 days. It's December the 8th. Me and my children, we were taking family portraits in the gazebo at my house, and I get like an excruciating pain in my side. It takes my breath away. And, everybody's there like, are you okay? Are you fine? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Just a little pain. I'll be okay. And later, so my ex walks down there, which he never walks to the gazebo, but he walked to the gazebo and he said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? How much longer are you going to be? And I said, just a few more minutes. We're almost done, and I kind of brushed it off, but he continued to hover around. And I was like, well, maybe we should wrap this up now, because obviously he has something that he wants to say. So I start making my way back to the house. And when I get to the house, he was like, can you sit down? But he said, where's your phone? And when I look at my phone, I have like 15, 20 missed phone calls. But of course, I don't check and see who they're from, because I'm like, what's up? What you got to tell me? And he's like, I got to tell you something, but I don't know how to tell you, just relax. So at that point in time, a knock comes on the door, and at that present moment, it's the police. So of course, I'm like, why are the police at my house? And it's the James City County Police Department coming to tell me that my father has been found deceased on the Eastern Shore. So ultimately, all the wind is knocked out of me. My ex is like, that's what I was trying to tell you, but I didn't know how to tell you. And my whole life changed in the blink of an eye, because I had fought so hard to have my dad back and have him in good health and have this great father-daughter relationship, and then to now feel like I had lost it.
Instant talk, promise I won't let you fall. When you reach, I will extend. I'll be there. Oh, I'll be there through the rough winds and rain and ice. I'll be there when the night falls and troubles rise. I'll be there if you need me, no matter what, how or when, my friend. Oh, I'll be there through the rough winds and rain and ice. I'll be there when the night falls and troubles rise.
So hearing the news of my father's passing, of course, I felt like my whole life had changed in a matter of moments. With being the only child, I never had to plan a funeral before. I never lost a parent before. So I kind of drifted through getting things done. I had a good friend that was a mortician, so I contacted him, and I was like, hey, my dad passed, I just need you to just take care of it. I don't want to deal with it. I've never had to do this before, and it's just so many emotions that I'm dealing with right now that I can't even fully grasp what's occurring. So he did everything for me. My father had a beautiful homegoing ceremony back on the Eastern Shore. Even the nurses from the facility that he was at over here, they took one of the facility vans and transported to the Eastern Shore so that they could pay their respects to him. All of his friends, mechanics and people that he hung out with, they all were there. And my dad looked good, like, he just looked so good, so sharp and handsome and stuff. And after that, returning back to this side, and, a lot of my dad's day-to-day things I was responsible for. You know, doctor's appointments, taking him to get a haircut, taking him to the store to get his snacks, his toiletries and stuff like that. I was responsible for. So because that had utilized so much of my time, I didn't really know what to put back in that area. So, you know, I got reserved and I thought I was doing fine, and I really wasn't doing fine. I was being a mean girl, and I was shutting people out, and I was being short, and I wasn't being there for my children. So I started to experience pain, like just pain. I remember my head hurting. I remember my chest hurting. I remember my limbs hurting. And I remember going to the doctor often for just different reasons. Like, oh, my chest hurts. You know, she's like, okay, your chest hurts. Oh, my head hurts. You know, as a matter of fact, you know, my legs hurt. And I just went back so much for so many different things till finally, after going through all the EKGs, all the MRIs, all the Holter monitor test for irregular heartbeat, you know, she kind of said, have you dealt with something? Has something happened in your life here recently? And I told her that my father had passed. And she said, okay, I now understand what's going on with you. She was like, you are dealing with anxiety and depression. And nobody ever said that to me. Like, I've seen it on TV, I've heard other people say it, but for it now to be my diagnosis was unbelievable. And I remember telling my best friend in Georgia, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, just one morning, I was like, the weight on my chest, my heart is hurting. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And she was like, girl, you're not having a heart attack. But, you know, after the doctor said what the doctor said, it was kind of like, it was one of those things where I could have took her telling me I had cancer. I could have took her telling me you have a hole in your heart. I could have took her telling me, you know, you got some rare form of something. But when she said I had anxiety and depression, I unraveled. So, you know, that it was eye-opening for me, because now we have now we have a diagnosis. So how can we move forward? You know, what do I need to do? You know, and so she gave me medicine. So, you know, when you take antidepressant medicines, it numbs you. It's numbing. It's really, really numbing. Like, so things will start to happen, but you won't have a way of expressing yourself because you're in a numb state. So it could come off as cold. It could come off as careless. It could come off as reckless. It could come off as a lot of things where other people are looking in and they're seeing you, but you're in a numb state. So you can't even truly begin to react to the things happening around you because you're under the influence of medicine. And this medicine is doing what it's designed to do, you know? And so a lot of things just fell by the wayside. You know, the children, they were raising themselves. The household was on autopilot. Me being a normally organized individual, I was no longer organized anymore. And I just closed the door and locked everyone out, because I'm numb. You know, I'm numb. And I made a vow to myself. I said, you know, I'm not going to be on these medicines. There's no way I can be on these medicines. There's no way that I can, you know, raise my children and you know, be a productive member of society and continue to be successful in work and continue to be a friend to my friends. And I can't operate like this while taking these medicines. And so, I went back to her, and, she told me the risk of, getting off of the medicines. And, she was like, well, you know what you was dealing with before, the undescribable pain, and, your head and your chest and your limbs, and, just feeling so hurt. She was like, you run the risk of those symptoms coming back. And I told her I fully understood, and that I was going to face those issues as they arose, but I was not going to continue to be under the influence of, these heavy medications. So at this point in time, I started to, tap into coping skills, breathing and different things that help, long walks. And, and I did continue to seek therapy, and I got my kids into therapy. And, I can't say that there's one thing that helped, but I can say that cumulatively, all the puzzle pieces together helped me to see myself in a different light. Helped me to, be able to deal with my emotions and talk them out with my children. Helped me to run my household more efficiently and effectively. Helped me to lean more on the Word of God. That when these emotions come up and I don't really know how to verbalize them, how to seek the Word of God, how to, put on some inspirational music, how to breathe, how to, work my way through it. And not every time does it work. Sometimes the emotions get the best of me, and it does take me back to, a place, a place where I'm getting hit on, a place where I'm longing to have a relationship with my mother, a place where my father is no longer walking the earth. It does take me to those places, but ultimately, once I'm done crying, once I'm done deep breathing, after the long walk, after the inspirational music, I put myself back in my happy place, and I continue on with the journey. So, taking what I knew with the diagnosis of anxiety and depression, then learning more in regards to coping mechanisms and how to deal with myself and my surroundings, it just led me to a journey of self-discovery where I knew it was okay to, reminisce about the things and to talk about the things that had hurt me. And I knew that, it was okay for my children to see, their mother attempting to heal, and also letting them know that every day wasn't going to be sunshine and roses, that, but we're in it together. And I think it allowed my kids to, I guess, be a part of my healing. I guess that's the only way to describe it. I hated the fact of making them responsible for it, but I wanted them to see that, hey, we all go through something, so that in the event that they find themselves at a crossroad in life, they can, face it head on. Like, well, my mom did it like this. We try to teach our kids about finances, and we try to teach our kids about, keeping house and stuff like that. But it's like, when do we teach our kids how to channel their emotions, how to deal with their emotions head on? We put them on the football field and we tell them that they're strong, and we put them in dance and we tell them that, they're beautiful and they're moving elegantly. But it's like, when do you tell them how to get their emotions in check, and, that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be frustrated, it's okay to be angry, but then what are we going to do about it? And closing the door and sulking in emotions, it only makes them that much realer when you come back out of the room. If you don't know how to deal with them, they're still going to be there waiting for you. So when you come back out, you have to have a way to combat those issues, And so for about the last, 2.5, 3 years after, losing my dad, that's the journey that I've been on, and I'm not angry at my mother, and I'm not angry at my father, I'm not angry at any exes. I'm on a plight to be a better me, you know what I'm saying, to just, live a happy, healthy life. Because I said multiple times, I had a good life, but I'm on a journey to live a great life, a great, healthy, happy, blessed, prosperous life. To break the generational curses, to allow my children to deal with their emotions effectively, to verbalize their emotions, not be anyone's step stool, not bottle it up and say everything is okay. I want you to deal with it head on. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to deal with heart pains and headaches and joint pains. I want you to, hey, I don't like it. And when you verbalize that, it gives you power over the situation. That person can either choose to change it, or you can choose to, exit stage to the left. But once you put it out in the atmosphere that, hey, I don't like it, then things have to change, and I don't take any, glorification in that, ending that domestic violence situation on that note, but I knew it had to end. So I look at that as a pivot where when I took my power back, the environment had to change. And that's in everything, So I looked at it when things got tough on the Eastern Shore, I moved to Hampton Roads. Anytime a job started to stress me out, I changed jobs. If a house wasn't making me happy anymore, I pack up my bags and I move. So it's like when you take the power back, you can dictate how things affect you. And so that's really where I'm at now. So I'm not sad about my dad's passing. I'm happy because since his passing, we've been going through, a pandemic. Like, I probably wouldn't have even been able to go see him at the facility. I wouldn't have been able to take him out to the barbershop. There's certain things that we wouldn't have been able to do because the pandemic would have totally changed, our dynamic. So, but I know with the time that I spent with my dad, he was adamant about me being happy and doing what it is I wanted to do. Anytime I would say, hey Dad, I want to do this, but whatever, he's like, just do it. What are you waiting for? And that was always his stance. Now, I will say right, wrong, whatever. If it was a drink I wanted to have, if it was a party that I wanted to go to, he would never talk me out of it. So I just live every day doing whatever it is that makes me happy. And it can make other people unhappy, but ultimately it makes me happy. It brings me joy. I'm not, out here stepping on anybody's toes or offending anyone. But if it's a trip that I want to take, if it's a place that I want to go, if it's a restaurant that I want to sit and eat at, I'm going to do it, because ultimately we only get one life and we have to live it fully. And when we leave this earth, we have to know that we left it all on the table, emotionally, spiritually. We have to know that we were whole, that we are well, that, all the puzzle pieces might not have made sense to anybody else, but they're fitting together for us. And those around us that are directly affected by our growth get to witness that firsthand. So I feel like my children get to witness firsthand my growth. The family that didn't want to have a relationship with me or, have since written me off, they didn't get to experience it. So they don't get to learn that life lesson. But my children, they get to witness it. Those close to me get to witness it. And every day is a journey. So with the journey of cultivating and experiencing life and continuing to bloom, I've now created a brand that I look to evolve into a nonprofit. It's called Queen Arise. It's positive affirmations, as speaking high of yourself, speaking light into all situations. It allows you to, view yourself in a different light, not the victim, but the victor, more of a conqueror. It has really given me a lot of insight into the journey. I'm now, journaling, writing consistently, referencing scriptures, and then applying them to my own life, and just fully understanding that once you put your feet on the floor each morning, that obstacles are going to come and you have to overcome them. So that's why I said queen arise, because you're arising over your situations and over your circumstances, and you're being greater than them. You're possessing your power, and you're going forth with your testimony, with your your past. You're not allowing it to hold you back, allowing it to be a crutch. You're not allowing it to just keep you in a state of being down, being depressed, leading to illnesses, heartbreak, whatever. So I just think as a a black woman, as a woman, as a minority, as an individual, it's very important to speak high over your situation. It's just knowing that you have the power to overcome anything, and even if it seems like it's getting the best of you, it's not going to get the best of you for long. Once you continue to speak to those things, and you just tell them that you possess all power. You are the daughter of a king. You know what I'm saying? So it's helped me, it's helped my children. I continue to influence my friends and talk to them and just let them know, hey, I'm here for you, and I send out positive things to them, because you just never know what somebody is going through. And we all need encouragement, and encouragement can come from several different directions. It can come from your spiritual leader, it can come from your family, it can come from a complete stranger, but you have to be open to receive that encouragement. So if you're speaking high over yourself, other individuals are speaking highly to you, speaking positive, speaking well, then that's two things you got working in your favor. And whatever the circumstances are, they don't have the power over you, and you can go on and live a good life, being a single mom, being an abandoned child, living in poverty, living in areas that aren't the best. That doesn't determine your future, because at any given time you can change it, you can turn it around, and you can make your own story. So my advice to anyone that's dealing with anxiety, depression, not feeling 100% themselves, not feeling like they're living the life that they ultimately deserve, I would say begin to write, begin to journal, begin to take notes in regards to your day-to-day feelings, your emotions, because you have to get those emotions out. You can't allow them to be bottled up. And then be the light, be the giver, speak positive. Tell someone, hey, you look nice today. Tell someone, you smell great. It looks lovely in here. Speak those positive words that are going to give other people encouragement, that in return is going to have them say something positive back to you. And I'm not saying say your shirt is nice because you want somebody else to tell you your shoes are nice, but the more you give that good energy out, that good energy is going to come back. And it might not come back from that immediate source, but it's going to come back. I'm Shintina Garrett. This is my blooming season.